Welcome on in, everybody. It is the Getting Naked podcast, and you know what time it is. We keep everything real, raw, and authentic, and hashtag AF. What's that mean, love?
As fuck. That's what that means. And welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know, we're about to get naked. Not literally, but we about to get naked with season 3, episode 4. And today's conversation is going to be an amazing conversation of digital nomad lifestyle, the real American dream, the new American dream at that, especially as Tara and I are digital nomads for the last 2 years living abroad. And we're going to be having a real raw conversation today about our experiences. And I'm pretty sure a lot of you might get some great value from this, where we're going to talk about, the beginning. We're going to talk about the culture and adaptation, and then, the safety and security that everybody always talks about. So we're going to dive into that and really have, a genuine conversation. If you guys don't know, buckle up, buttercups, because this is, us, keeping it real and really, showcasing, to you guys all what you might be thinking we're going to say, and what you might not have thought we would say. We're probably going to say that. But as always, we're going to ask you, where's the lie? And, a lot of the times we lie to ourselves and we give ourselves excuses and reasonings, especially when it comes to, traveling the world, experiencing new things. Tara shared with me a while back that, I think it's like 80% of people do not, move outside of where they were born, and that's just crazy in itself, that a lot of people just stick to the comfort and, where they are, going back home. I know I still have friends that, are in high school and are now the coach of their little league in the same area. And I'm like, hell no, absolutely not. Which is even more the reason why, if you guys don't know, Tara and I have no kids whatsoever and plan not to have no kids. FTK at the end of the day. And, that's really what we're going to be talking about. And so, love, what is your thought process? Because when I asked you about this, you mentioned one thing that I definitely think people need to hear about, when we talk about digital nomads and traveling the world. What's your take on this? Talk to us, baby.
Well, hello, beautiful people. It's so great to be here with everybody, in our amazing podcast. And honestly, at the end of the day, the cool thing is, and this is what I will share, is that being homeless by choice is the most liberating thing there is about being a digital nomad. And I'll break that down and I'll help you guys understand what I mean by that. But our kitty cat wants to come and be a part of this podcast too, because she travels with us. She's like, I'm a digital nomad too. I want to talk about this as well. So point being, though, is that if you would have asked David and I if we would be digital nomads, 10 years later, we would have said no,
Hell
probably
no.
hell no. Because we've really been through a journey the past 10 years of a mindset, and that's where David was, alluding to when he was sharing with you, is that it comes down to the mindset. There is a huge mindset shift that you have to make as an individual to want to be able to be a digital nomad full time. And what do I mean by that? We're going to, dive into each of these sections, in more in depth, but ultimately, you have to break free of the materialistic way that we think as humans. A lot of times we are felt pressured by society to live the life that everybody says, which is like, go to school, graduate, go to college, graduate, find someone to marry, get married, buy a house, have kids, teach little league, have the white picket fence, that whole quote unquote, my air quotes are up right now, the American dream. And that is not what the American dream is. The American dream at the end of the day is to do what you want to, when you want to, how you want to, because we have those freedoms to do so. but we have been conditioned to get it, fall in line of the white picket fence and the typical American dream of finding someone, getting married. And what happens is we have an extremely high divorce rate that you see happening in our culture, in our society, because we're taught to just do these things, and we do it, and it's all fun and games until the magic wears off, and then we're looking at each other going, man, I don't think I really wanted to pick you. And then we're in an upset, and we're going our separate ways, and then we have a high divorce rate because we're not taught to communicate, because we're taught that we have to do things in the way that the American dream is so called put together. And in reality, most people believe that they have to have a house and a car and multiple cars and a boat and all of these things inside a house, and all of these clothes and these shoes and these purses and these watches and all of this materialistic things that come down to it. And in reality, you don't need any of that. But because we've been taught to be consumers and to always consume and buy things and keep up with the Joneses, quote unquote, no pun intended to my Mr. Jones, but it's keeping up with the Jones mentality. And we all suffer from a materialistic, disease. And so when you have to break out of that mindset, you can say, I can sell my house and have absolutely nothing to my name and be incredibly free. When you break out of that traditional mindset, those programming thoughts that society has forced upon us to say, this is the right way to do it. In reality, however you choose to do your life, it's your choice. And that's the cool thing about it, is we all have free will and free choice, and we get to choose what we get to choose. Now, with that said, again, 10 years ago, we would have not made this choice. We would have not been digital nomads. I remember, digital entrepreneurs, for the lack of better terms as well, is because we are entrepreneurs. We are 100% online, so we can travel anywhere in the world that has internet and run our business. And, the biggest thing about that, it comes down to the simple fact at the end of the day that most people are not setting themselves up to do what they want to do in life. They're settling for the job that they have because, they're afraid they can't find another job, or that they're not going to be able to do it on their own, that, they're not going to live the comfort of what they have, the materialistic things, the houses, the cars, the eating out, every weekend and going out and doing things. If that's what you choose, and that what makes you happy, truly makes you happy, then go for it. But in reality, most of us are not happy on the inside. We're not chasing our dream. We're not doing what is fulfilling in life. We're just putting one foot in front of the other, as in survival mode. And so as we break down this conversation today, we're going to loop back around to a lot of the mindset. David and I are no longer the people that we were 10 years ago. And I just had a fresh reminder of that, of the old ways that programming that I used to be a part of, and how that showed up in my life, and how it debilitated my life because I chose to be in a victim or a poor me mode, instead of saying, taking the bull on by the horns and getting things taken care of and just showing up in my life. And when I chose to start showing up in my life is when my perspective changed about materialistic goods, needs, materialistic wants, and really just was able to propel me into why not while we're in our early 40s, late 30s and early 40s, go travel the world and see what the world has to offer. Why not believe in ourselves and our dream? Why not break out of the stereotypical mold that every American, tends to be told what to do and how to do it? And when you break out of that mold, you're made fun of. You're ridiculed, sometimes even by the closest people that you love, that you think would have your back. You're told that you ain't shit and that you don't own anything. And because you don't own anything, then you ain't going to be anything. And in reality, that's just traumas and patterns and societal beliefs that have been forced upon us, when in reality, that ain't the gold. That ain't the where the goodness is. But having a whole bunch of material things is not what makes anybody happy. And I can tell you that because I learned that, because I left a very healthy 6-figure job and left all the materialistic things behind, because at the end of the day, I'm happier and more free than I am today, that I get to choose to wake up and not work Mondays if I don't want to work Mondays, because I don't work Mondays because I own my own business, and that's my choice. And at the end of the day, I get that choice, and having choice is the most powerful, liberating thing you'll ever have. And most of us are too scared to make a choice and stand by it and live, by it. And we're too dependent on this thing called money, and trading our time for money instead of chasing our dreams and doing what you truly want to do. So that's where I'll start this conversation, love.
Remember, baby, short burst, short burst. And so,
Huh?
yeah, that part. But the amazing share, baby, because what you reminded me of is, your mom, with us visiting your mom the other day was like, I want to eat my dessert, before dinner. Well, why not enjoy the good things in life, before the actual main meal? And you said it on the head, is that, so many people live by this American dream where, oh, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to have this white picket fence. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have kids. I'm going to do this. And then once I retire, I'm going to, go travel. When, you're 60 years old, your ass can barely walk. You can barely move around. You can't, do all the things that you want to do and, experience it the way that you want to do because you lived, what everybody else wanted you to live by. And even, 10 years ago, it would have never been a thought process of us being in our business together, and doing what we're doing now, let alone saying, screw this. We're going to sell our house. We're going to sell our cars. We're going to just jump and make the leap. And, the first place is going to be Colombia out of all places that, we moved to. And it really started when we did start our business in Grant Cardone. He had, utilized our biz in a box and asked us, hey, I would love for you guys to, come and work for me and, white label this and you guys can do all this and you guys can be under our umbrella. And, for a while there, we were like, yeah, let's move to Miami. Let's pack this up and let's roll. And then, we start talking to, other associates and other clients and other friends, and especially one that was in Colombia. And, it really came down to the numbers of, hey, man, we're spending, all this money on rent, all this money on overhead, all this money on just being stuck in the house. And that was something that really, Tara brought to my light where it was the numbers. And she came to me with the numbers and I was like, oh, shit. Let's pack this the Cujo and the band. Let's pack this up. Let's go. And especially being able to travel and with you being a Cancer, me being a Cancer, that's always been something that we wanted to do. And especially with me, in my corporate position, I was taking 500 flights, in 4 years. And so moving around and traveling, that was right up my alley. But now being able to not just live in a hotel, and go pillow to pillow, every other day, and really get to experience it and be around it and not have to be on somebody else's timeline was absolutely amazing. Especially, understanding that, a lot of people ask us, right, when we told them, we were leaving, is how did you do it? Well, we just pressed the damn button and we put our house up for sale. And at that time, cars were up. So we actually made money on our cars. And, we didn't have kids or anything of that sort, but we did have a dog at that time. And, some of you guys know the story that our dog, literally transitioned to a cat. And now she's, living with us, wherever we go, which actually worked out better because Colombia, I don't think she would have been able to go to. And Mexico would have been a little bit harder during, after the pandemic. And so, and even more so, as we talk about this beginning part, is, me and Tara really realized, the friends and the family that we had. We had a going away party, in April. And we planned it and we sent it out to people. And a lot of people said that they would show up and they didn't. And a lot of the times, we look at, leaving our hometown or leaving our friends and family. And I'm here to tell you, they could care two shits about you or about what you do if you're not, helping them out and, giving them extra money or this, that, and the other, or inviting them to your house, where they drink up all your alcohol and eat up all your food. But, it's a real eye opener per se. And I share this with people all the time. Do a post about opening up, getting a brand new position, and your ass is going to get all the praise and congratulations, this, that, and the other. Whereas you do a post about you opening up your own business, and people are going to be like cockroaches, like gone. And you're not going to get
Oh,
nowhere
yes.
near as many likes and posts. And that just goes to show with you all the American dream, that we value a position that, especially right now, if you guys aren't paying attention, this AI, this robotics, your job is about to be eliminated, homeboy, homegirl. It's out of there, due to the fact that you're going to have to compete with something that doesn't go to sleep, doesn't need vacation, doesn't need sick time, doesn't need, doesn't have half the personal problems you have. And those of you that are, senior managers, or, or VPs, or, entrepreneurs of your own business, it's damn adult babysitting, real talk, at the end of the day. And no more adult babysitting when you have AI and robotics working, just like a lot of people are probably saying, go ask Chipotle. They just eliminated 2 damn positions, from their workforce by avocado cleaners, and now, robots that are now, making the tacos and just certain things. Where, lo and behold, as we talked about over a year ago, McDonald's, came out with, their fully automated, robotic business, restaurant store. So it's really time for people to understand the American dream is living outside of America. And that's definitely something we're going to tap in. But love what you got on that, especially as we talk about, culture and adaptation, especially, when we move to Colombia.
Well, let me circle back to the fact that, 2 cancers, when I look at my astrology card, I can't even get that out properly at the moment.
Astrology card. I got you, baby.
Yes, thank you. When I started looking at, where my houses and my planets line up, I realized why culture and traveling is so important to me. And that's just because of, where my things line up. Not everybody's into that, and having this conversation, we have a lot of people that have asked us about how we made the jump and how we made the leap. And it's like, you just do it. But in reality, when we really stop and sit down and think about it, there's a mindset shift that has to happen first. And most people are not willing to make that mindset shift, like we said. And then most people are not willing to work or be flexible with other culture. I mean, let's look at this for real talk of what it is. We live in, United States of America. Well, we don't anymore. We live all around the world. But, the majority of the audience that is listening to us is, for stateside, state based. And in reality, what happens is we're intolerant of culture in our own borders. We're not tall. I mean, I lived 22 plus years in Houston, Texas. David's born and raised in Houston, Texas. That is a melting pot of culture right there. You can find any and all cultures within Houston's, metropolitan. And a lot of times people are intolerant of that because it's not the way that they were raised, or it's not their culture. And we're not open and curious and wanting to be curious in a kind way of, just learning and not mocking or, whatever. And so that is another huge side of it, that people can't get past that front of being able to say, you know what, I'm going to go travel to another world, another country. Another world, it really is another world when you move outside of the borders. But you go to another country and people can't just understand that you're in a new town, a new area, and that you got to do as the locals do, as they say, when in Rome, eat and do what the Romans do. And that's the same thing for anywhere you go. And so, like, when we went to Colombia, you meld into what their culture is. And it's to be respectful, because you are in their country. It's to be respectful. It's to be curious, but in a very kind, learning way instead of, a mockery way. And it's just being ultimately kind of a bystander to, kind of watch and, and if invited to be a part of it, then to participate if you choose so. And, in Colombia, people were extremely genuine and nice. They They also, one part that we were in was a very tourist-based city, and so there's a lot of tourism businesses, meaning, selling you things and, crafts and arts and, making foods and things like that. And as Americans, we don't like to be bothered and hassled and, would you like this? You want to check this out? I've heard a lot of people talk about, oh, I love, Cartagena, but I hated all the street hassling, the people that were, selling things on the street. I hated being hassled. And in reality, you have to understand those individuals make an eighth of what you make in a year, in a month. And that is their livelihood. They do have to ask for business. And we as Americans and being in our society, we've made it taboo to ask for business. We talk about this within our own business, rooms that we do, is how to speak about, politely asking for the business or knowing of people that need help with, that, so that your services would be valuable. They have to ask for that. And because we're not used to that and we don't have to live like that, we frown upon it. We think it's a hassle.
I got something to say to that real quick. That blows my damn mind. Like today alone, today I reached out to a person, and as I do all the time, we are follow up king and queen. You tell us something, we're going to follow up with that ass, and we're going to make sure you either going to tell us no or you're going to tell us yes. Either way, it's on you. But today I sent out a note, and this lady decided to respond back. Please don't let me know before you send me links. I sent this link, our actual website and our book of discovery call. But yet, in the same breath, this same individual can send us links to subscribe to her newsletter. Like, that blows my mind that people don't want to connect, but you'll hear them in these on these social audio rooms. You'll hear them, on their lives talking about, let's collaborate, let's, link up. But then you hit them in the back channel and you get a completely different response. Like, that shit has to stop. Like, people talk about collaborating and they don't get the drift that just say no. If it's a no, just say no. If it's a yes, say yes. And a lot of y'all asses are saying no to shit you should be saying yes to, and the same shit that you was praying for and asking for, then it comes to your front doorstep and your ass sit there and avoid it. And the shit that you should be saying no to, the alcohol, the eating, overeating, all the rest of the bullshit, your ass is lined up front and center to get all of that, but not to impact your life or your business or just overall. So sorry, love. This is why it's called Getting Naked. You just gonna get some real shit from us out the gate. And if I offended you and you think I'm talking about your ass, yeah, I'm talking about your ass.
Well, no worries at all, love, but that's the reality of it. And it's I told you at the beginning of this conversation, I told you before we even started our podcast, we're going to be talking, it's going to circle back a lot to mindset, because it comes down to a different mindset. And the more that you and I travel this world, the more that we're out of the States, the more that when we come back to visit the States and interact with people in the States, you can see a huge mindset difference. I don't mean that in a way that makes people wrong. I mean that in a reality of being mindful that, like you said, the little fact that I shared with you is that over 80% of people don't move away, farther than 20 miles away from their house, growing, where they grew up from, their entire life. And that is the reality of us getting stuck in our ways and being stuck in our ways and only doing things the way that, and if you're happy with, doing the routine and the mundane, that's absolutely okay. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make us wrong for not liking that style of life and wanting to travel. It's just the beauty of being able to go and have these experiences however you choose for your experience to be. But what
don't
we
judge
find
other people
in our
because you don't know what they are. Sorry, love, and don't judge other people, or make an assumption about what other people are, or who they do, when you haven't left, across the bridge, when you haven't experienced things around the world, but you come up with these conclusions of how other people are, what other people are, especially when we talk about, Colombia and Mexico, Ecuador, Venezuela. When I very first left, I had no clue, about some of these differences of different people. When I was growing up in my household, it was Mexican this, Mexican that, and it was all bundled up into one, big group, not knowing and not being educated enough. And that's shame on me for not doing more research, but just going by what I heard in my surroundings. Holy shit. It's completely different from a Colombian, from Venezuela to Ecuador to Mexico. Those are completely different cultures. And most people make these assumptions, even when it comes to race, even when it comes to religion. And it's just dumb. You're a dumbass. Real talk. I was a dumbass by not educating myself, or not willing to know, or wanting to understand, especially understanding other people's perspective, especially when we talk about Mexico and the border crisis and things of this sort. People have no clue what the hell they're talking about. If you wanted to have a better lifestyle and a better opportunity for your family, and there was nothing else for you to do but to make that travel, what the hell would you do? And it blows my mind that people talk about borders when they fail to forget, motherfucker, you stole this from the Indians. You stole Texas from Mexico. What the hell are you talking about borders? If anybody asks us to go back, we all should go back and give people back what they had from the jump. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. At the end of the day, that's what this is about. That's why we call our podcast Getting Naked, because it's real, raw, authentic. It's not polished and professional like we are in our other rooms throughout the week. It doesn't make us any less than thereof, or anybody more than thereof. It just comes down from a perspective, and we're sharing a perspective with you after traveling. When you were talking about that, I was thinking about my mom. My mom's currently across the pond. For those that don't know what that means, she's over in Europe area right now, Northern Europe, traveling. She will be gone for a month. David and I are actually currently house sitting for her stateside. And that's why we have such these interactions about, culture. And, heck, I'll tell you guys, inflation is killing you guys up here. I can tell you that, because we come back and we're like, holy cow. Now we know why we don't live in the States, because it is, it's expensive across the
Hell
board
no.
wherever you are. And that's a whole other conversation that we're not here to have. But it's just the fact that it is a stark reality contrast when you get outside. And so my point being is what I was sharing about my mom. She's, currently traveling, and her saying is everybody should experience traveling outside of the United States to another country, preferably across the ocean, so you can get some more experience, because the way of life is so different elsewhere. The way we live is not how everybody else lives. Yes, people get up, and breathe and put on pants just like you do here, there. They put one foot in front of the other just like you do. But in reality, the thoughts and the beliefs that people have about, family, like for instance, in Mexico, and back to the kind of the cultural side of this, is in Mexico. And I've always known this because I've had, a lot of majority of my friends growing up through school since I was a little kid were Hispanic. Many of them were from Mexico. Their grandparents were from Mexico. So, they lived here, or they lived in a southern state, and they would come up and agriculturally work in Idaho for the summer. So they were agricultural families that would move where the work was. Essentially, they would follow the work. And so a lot of my friends were Hispanic growing up. And, when going over to their houses and visiting, you would have, grandma would be living with them, or aunts and uncles would be living all underneath that same house. It would just be a full household. And these houses weren't massive. They weren't mansions by any means. So they just learned how to get along with each other. There was a level of being able to be all in one house. And when you go and of course when you go visit Mexico, you can see that. But in the tourist towns, it's a whole lot different than when you go to where we're at, with which is central Mexico, which is not touristy.
Guanajuato.
And it's, you know, a cute little city and town. Guanajuato, it's cute. It's a little gorgeous little city and town there, but it's not a big tourist trap. And so there's a lot of culture still instilled there. And you know, you have like across the street from us, you have families that have, you know, the brother and the sister who are out of school, you know, they're working, but they still live at home. Mom and dad, aunts and uncles, grandma and grandpa. It's just, you know, the whole entire three generations. And they all have a level of their own house. You know, it's kind of like they build a house and it's like everybody kind of has their own little level, but the kitchen is the melting pot where everybody comes together and, you know, cooks and eats together. And they've learned how to live together. And us as a society, we don't. I mean, it's like my options when I was turning 18 was you can go to college away and go on scholarships. You can go to college here, and if you want to stay at the house, then you can stay for free. But the same rules still apply. If you want to just get a job, you can get a job and move out and pay your own rent, or you can get a job and you can stay here and pay a reduced rent. I mean, it was all about, you know, you got to go kind of, you know, thing. And it wasn't, you know, stick around here because, you know, and work and yes, help with the bills, but it's not like
It was a
expected
different
to, you know,
mentality.
it's a
It's a
different
completely
mentality.
different mentality where they want you
We're
to
very
stay.
independent.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's welcoming for you to stay, you know, with your parents, and more importantly, it's expected, you know, that you stay with your parents, and then your girlfriend comes over, your boyfriend comes over, and this is what gets me is that, you know, they expect that, you know, especially for the women, the man to come move in with the parents, you know, and you know that's not just in the Latino culture, but you know we see that in the Indian culture, we see that in the Asian culture, especially back at home. We wonder why, you know, these families all still live, you know, in the same household because that's what they're accustomed to. It's only Americans that have this get your shit together, get out, go to school, pay me rent, you know, all this capitalistic, you know, we talk about capitalistic, but hell, we have capitalistic, you know, ways in our own damn household, and we
Well,
wonder why, you know, the whole society is.
we bitch about capitalistic ways like the
Yeah,
inflation and the price of rent and the price of everything going up around here, but yet we turn around and do the same thing to people. Like, you know,
yeah,
your parents are like, get out and pay me rent, you know, or,
yeah.
you know, it's always pay your own way when you turn 18. And instead of, you know, and granted, you know, yeah, there's pros and cons to all of it, right? You know, these are just different cultural things that we see when we are traveling abroad. And you know, identifying the need of flexibility when you do make these when you are traveling, because your your way of living is not their way of living. And you know, behind
Yeah.
closed doors you can live however you choose to, but when you're out in, you know, public, and you know, there is a courtesy to extend when you're in other, it's kind of like when you go over to visit someone else's house, you just have a courtesy, there's a courtesy about how you act, you know, and that's the same way. You know, and so as we move this conversation along, you know, the next thing that, you know, we kind of wanted to jump in and touch on was, you know, outside of the mindset, because I continue to come back to this mindset thing, because if you would ask David and I 10 years ago, we were, heck no, we were attached to our, I had a BMW, David had multiple BMWs, and then a QX80, you know, Infinity. I mean, we were attached to materialistic things 100%.
Yeah.
And now if you saw us, you'd be like, you know,
Who the hell
we
are
don't care.
you?
Like,
Didn't
we
you just
don't
wear that
care, like
shirt
the way we use.
yesterday? Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I
it's like,
absolutely
well,
did just wear this shirt yesterday. And what's up? And
what's
you know,
up?
you say that, but then again, you know, when we talk about materialistic things, you know, when me and Tara first moved to Colombia, it was a nice high rise. It was amazing. It was kind of, you know, still in the American way a little bit, just by the beach
Yeah,
and a lot more sun and things of that sort, right? But then when we moved to Sanaga, and we had to take, you know, a 2 hour, 3 hour ride to Sanaga. me and Tara were crying on one portion of this trip where I will never forget that trip ever, because you can take any hood, any fifth ward, any fourth ward, any nearest hood near you and call that the Four Seasons compared to what we saw. Where, we think we live in poverty, we think we know what poverty is, especially for those of us that do have this entitlement or call ourselves, from this area, that area. First of all, you ain't got bombs and things being blown up on you. And then secondly, if you had saw the plastic, you had saw the children, you had saw the poverty, in this one area. Oh my God. I mean, I would literally remember reaching back from the front seat, grabbing Tara's hand, and we're holding each other hand, and I can hear her crying, she can hear me crying. I'm pretty sure the our driver was like, what the hell is going on with these two, Americans? But it was a huge eye opener. And it's just like when we talk about the metaverse, it's hard for for us to talk about it or to share it out loud. This would be the same, analogy that you have to actually see it. You saw houses, just boarded up. I mean, it was just crazy, especially in one portion. We talk about water, but these houses were on stilts, in the mud, and just no way. I take any, project home that I've seen and I've been into, and stayed in, over what we saw, traveling here. And so definitely when we talk about, the culture and adaptation, just in Mexico alone, the trash. Here in the States, we're accustomed to, a trash man, coming to pick up the garbage. Just like today here in Idaho. These guys have the actual, machine that picks up the trash and puts it in the back of the dumpster. No, no, ma'am, no, sir. In Mexico, there's a truck, a Ford extended cab with boards on the side, a little metal, a little back trunk with people in the back, and they jump their asses in the trash. And you talk about recycle. They do all of that in that one trash with maggots and flies and rats and everything else, dividing trash up right there. And if you guys want to see it, definitely check out our social media, because these are things that we showcase and just keep it real, to remind you of how blessed you are, especially with the things that we do, which is, copy, paste, drag, drop. If you work in an office, you have your own business, you work, in some type of, office environment, that's what you're doing. Imagine putting a shovel, imagine digging through trash and going home and having maggots and flies and just getting the EBGBs talking about it. And so we really have to be aware, of the culture differences and the adaptations that we had to go through, especially as we talk about safety, right? Tara living in Mexico, Tara can walk down, to the store, and I have no problems. Coming from Houston, Texas, the number one sex trafficking place in the United States, not so much, baby. And even driving, at this point. And so it's completely night and day, especially when people said, "Oh, you guys are going to Colombia? Is it safe? Is it with the cartels?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" You might want to check, your back doorstep and remember that. And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier, is that people that don't experience this, they just rely on what the news tells them or what they've seen on TV or what somebody else that never even went or stepped outside, might share with them. And then they run with this whole story, and we create this whole entire persona when it's completely different. And that's why we're sharing with you guys today that the American dream is living outside of America, not Cancun, not Tulum, not going to Jamaica, not going to Paris or going to Hawaii and be like, "Oh, I've been out of the country," but literally, staying, 3, 4 months outside the tourist areas. And I promise you, you will become a different person, to where, you start understanding. And even now, being back in the States, it's like, oh man, I don't miss this life at all. Just the driving and the people and the looks, especially for me as being a black man. I'll never forget Tara asked me in Colombia. She said, "Baby, how do you feel, here?" I said, "Baby, I don't feel hunted. In the States, I felt hunted. When I got in the car, when I was out and about, I just felt like I was one little bitty, damn mistake away from getting, tortured or getting messed with, for nothing. Where, in Colombia, there's more women cops than there were men cops. In Mexico, same thing. I walk by them and they're hi, buenos dias, how you doing? And, at one point, they asked us questions and asked us were we safe, this, that, and the other in Mexico. I was like, damn, ain't nobody in the States ever asked me, hey, brother, sister, y'all okay? Y'all safe? Y'all need anything? Nothing of that sort. And so, safety, and just like with anything, if you're looking for trouble, your ass is gonna find trouble at the end of the day. And as long as have high vibrations and high frequency, it's a lot better, outside the States. What would you say, love?
Yeah, I I laugh because we're sitting here and we're talking about the cultural differences and the shock, because everybody, kind of lives in this bubble of, well, I've traveled outside the states, and so I went to these places, and 9 times out of 10, you probably have, but they're probably tourist,
Yep,
places.
stay at the
They
resort.
cater to they cater to the American way, of safety, or perceived safety, because we think that everything outside of America is not safe, and in reality, nothing inside of America is safe, nothing outside of America is safe, nothing is safe in this world at all. And a lot of times, it's just like you said, if you're not hunting for the trouble, you're not going to find trouble. We've been in Mexico for 2 years now, and haven't had one issue, one like, was that questionable? No, we've never had that experience. But again, we're smart, we're hip to the the game, in the sense that we're not going to be walking around at night in places that you don't need to, just like you wouldn't be doing it here. You wouldn't be downtown Houston walking around by yourself at night. It's just not safe. And that's that common sense. But with that said, we've been talking a lot about kind of the what is so. But as we, get ready to wrap up this amazing conversation, let's talk about some of the fun things about, the why we like being digital entrepreneurs, where we can move around the world, anywhere, any place. Let's talk about some of the things that are not such the in your face mindset shift, materialistic,
What's the fun shit? What's the fun
capitalistic,
shit?
yeah, where's the good and happy, joyful crap,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
some of the things I love about being able to travel the world is a few things. That I've always wanted to travel the world. It's always been something that I've wanted to do my entire life, and so this is a dream of mine. This is not, and that's not everybody's dream. I get that 100%. So it's a dream come true for me. Number two, for me, it's the experience of different cultures. I like experiencing different cultures, seeing different cultures, like, oh, that's how other people live. I am, fascinated with how other people, do their daily, lives. That is extremely fascinating to me. So again, these are things that, pique my interest, because that's what I'm into. Not everybody's into that, and that's okay. But I love, the food that we get to eat and we get to try. I love, meeting new people. I enjoy seeing different things. David and I said the same thing the other day. We took a trip up, a little road trip while we were, here in Idaho, and showed him kind of the Hell's Canyon scenic area, the scenic route. And David's like, some people just don't even know the beauty that we have inside the states, let alone what you can find outside the states as well. So we're, we enjoy seeing, the awe of a natural, phenomenon. And I think everything's a phenomenon at that point. It's like, doesn't have to be the, eight wonders of the world, but, it really comes down to just the joy that it brings me for getting to see the world and travel the world. That's the fun for me in it. And to be 100, people are always like, well, are you never going to move back? Well, maybe one
Hell
day,
no.
hell no. But in reality, it won't be full time. It will be, it'll just be a part time, and, part time here and part time there. Once you've spent 20, 30 years traveling, you get to the point where you're going to want to kind of, uh, be in a couple of different places that you like, that you enjoy spending your time with or time at. So, never say never in the future, because you never know what's going to happen in life. This world is a funny little fickle creature sometimes, and so you never say never. But what we've experienced, I always say this, where we're at in Mexico, they always say, "Oh, you should go over to San Miguel and visit San Miguel." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, why is that?" "Oh, there's tons of Americans over there, and you would just love it because it's real cultural and all that." And I just listen, and then they get done talking. And I was like, "Well, thank you." And they're like, I was like, "But no, thanks." I said, if I wanted to see Americans, I could go back to America, where I just came from and spent 40 years in America, which is nothing's wrong with that, but I know the American way. I want to go experience other ways. But at the end of the day, I also laugh because it's like, well, there's a lot of culture here too. And I want to, I like this culture. And so, again, it's what everybody's personal preference is. But to me, traveling and visiting and experiencing new things like that is what is fun. The fun part about being a digital nomad. And the fun thing is I can't wait, because we're getting ready. Our next stop is Thailand. And I am super excited about that. But I'll park my little buggy, love,
Well,
and
this
let
might
you
be off
jump in on
topic,
this.
baby, but your avatar looks amazing, just by the way. I just want to
I
let you
am
know
that
that, especially
avatar.
VR headset. I just want to say your chest area is looking amazing, since we're talking about getting naked and all.
Oh
This porn,
Lord, guys, he
this is
just went
R-rated.
just like a
Anyhow,
boy. He went
but my
left
head,
field on us.
but my bald head just looks clean as it can be. But
Yeah, you
the
didn't have
one
to shave
thing,
it.
that part. And speaking of the food, when me and Tara first left the States, me and Tara were pescatarians. We left the beef, we left the chicken, we left the steak alone. And we when we got to Colombia, we held true to that for a little bit. Or when did we, or no, we held true to it, didn't we? Yeah, we held true to
Yeah,
being pescatarians
almost. Yeah.
when we were in Colombia. But let me tell y'all something. We got our asses to Mexico, and we were passing all the stores in Mexico, and they had this rotisserie chicken just under fire, just calling a brother's name. And that was the first damn thing that we went to when we started eating chicken and beef and things of that sort. And it was also because of the quality of meat compared to America as well. We realized that the quality of meat was completely different. And so we've been tearing up some beef, some steak, and all sorts of shit. Just let y'all know that right now. Pescatarian is definitely out the gate for sure. So that's been the one great thing, that the brother got some meat again, because I don't know how much longer I could do, with fish and shrimp only for quite some time. But it was good. And then,
A
definitely, when we
lifestyle
went to
change,
Colombia,
love.
yeah, yeah. And then especially, for those of you that know, David loves his fishing. And I took an amazing fishing trip in Colombia. The tallest mountains next to the ocean is in Santa Ana, the coastal line of that area. Where were we at exactly, baby? Was it
Santa
Santa
Martha
Ana?
area.
Santa
Yeah,
Marta,
it was
Santa
just,
Marta.
yeah, it was
Because
just,
somebody gonna
it's
fact
a
check our
little
asses
town
and be like,
outside of
he was
Santa Martha.
lying.
Yeah.
And so Santa Marta, and amazing fishing there. That will definitely be a place that we go back to, and we fish. And I would just have to say, just
Bigger
the
boat for me.
people. I definitely a bigger boat for yes, I would agree on that. But I would also share this. Uh, just the people, the conversations. We've all been bamboozled, on both sides of what people are. And the great thing about us traveling is that, just the different experiences, the different conversations that we've had with people, and just who we've become, of not being the materialistic people, like wearing, the same shirt, maybe twice, three times a week. And, it's just, we are happier now. My father told me, when I was acting up in school, that my ass would be homeless, and, I wouldn't be anything. And I am homeless. I'm homeless by choice. And so glad that, we don't own anything, and we're not tied to this materialistic things, and the mindset that we've had. And we continue to share with people that, we just don't talk about, this mindset. We've actually done it. and done a lot of things that most people haven't done. And it's just been so, you know, it's just been so I'm looking for the word, but I can't find
Liberating.
it. There you go. See, you got me. Liberating, you know, on being a, I was about to say lubricated. I'm thinking of P.
I
Diddy
was
right
gonna
now with
say
Baby.
your mindset is like, I'm sorry, y'all.
But anyhow, you know, this is you know an amazing conversation that we've had. Especially, we hope that you guys can come, you know, and visit us in our metaverse and watch, you know, our amazing weekly shows that we have from our How to Tuesdays. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern. Our Wisdom Wednesdays. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern, and that's in our Hello Plaza room that you guys can join us from your cell phone, your laptop, your iPad, or you know your VR headsets if you have those. But please believe that you know this is a new way that we're going to be able to engage. And you know what really set us apart is that when we landed in Colombia, the first night, me and Tara were going to go get something to eat, and on the side of one of the vendors, they had the Oculuses, and they were, you know, showcasing the metaverse and had people playing games. And that right there was a huge eye opener and a big, you know, big bail sign, or should I say, you know, one of those moments that me and Tara were on the right path, because that right there was crazy to see, you know, Colombia implementing the metaverse, which is what we share with people, that this is the future, and that you know you got to get on board and you got to be able to expand your horizons and open up the four most expensive things: a closed mind, a closed mouth, a closed heart, and a closed hand. And a lot of the times that's what we opened up to become digital nomads, and definitely loving it and definitely looking forward to Thailand and the experiences over there. Tara and I are definitely going to be taller than everybody over there. As coming back home, I realized that, damn, you're not the tallest one in the room anymore, being back home. So it's been an eye opener being in Mexico, being in Colombia, coming back and forth, you know, home, and being here in Idaho with Tara. And it's just been an amazing experience and definitely an eye opener. So we encourage you guys to come back and join us on our next Getting Naked podcast. Don't know what it's going to be about, but you know it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be real, raw, and authentic conversations at the end of the day. But love, that's what I got. You know, on the positive side, you know, this is just us keeping it real and just telling how it is.
Yeah. And I think, at the end of the day, everybody asked us, from the get, how did you do it? And it's just, if it's something that you really want to do, like if you really want to, become a digital nomad, there's so many ways to do it now. I mean, heck, at the end of the day, you can still have a job. You don't even have to own your own company. You can have a job and be able to, work remotely. There's a lot of jobs out here that are 100% remote. And, there's tons of things to be able to do outside of the borders, and so for financial ways, there's a will, there's a way. If you've ever read that book, you know what I'm talking about. If you want it bad enough, you'll do it. But again, it's the mindset shift of saying, you know what, selling all the things that I own. I don't need those materialistic things anymore. I can accumulate those again in my lifetime if that's what I want to do, and letting that stuff go and being able to just make the choice. And again, everybody would ask us, and I'm like, if you want to do it, you'll just do it. That's the case. You will find out what
Press the
motivates
button.
you to do it. I mean, I say it like this. You're hungry, right? Your belly's growling. Well, you're in your house. You're going to get up and go to the kitchen. You're going to go to the pantry, or you're going to go to the refrigerator. You're just going to do it and feed yourself, because at some point you have to eat or you're going to die. You'll starve to death, and so it's that drastic. It's just, if you want it, you'll do it. And a lot of people say they want it, but they're not willing to give up their materialistic, ways of being and having, or, how they choose to live, or the items they choose to keep with you. The other side of that too is you could be a part-time digital nomad. You could live in the States for 6 months of the year if you wanted to, because you just absolutely love your stuff that you have. And then every 3 months, just travel,
Shit, all
travel
the
90
money that
days
we were
every
spending
3 months.
on valet, the money we were
Yeah.
spending on food, on all living for the weekend, hell, we could have stacked that cash and we could have went on, you know, a vacation somewhere else around the world, every single month. And
Yep.
and that's
But
the
the
crazy
problem
thing,
is
right?
that we don't have the time because we're trading our time for money. And that's a whole
That
different
part.
other conversation that we're
Yeah.
going to, have in this
Yeah.
podcast down the line. But
And
with
I'll be
that said, we
honest.
appreciate. Go ahead,
And
love.
hold on. And I'll be honest, right? My ass was scared when you first brung up digital nomad and us traveling, especially when the first place was Colombia. I was the hesitant one. I'm not gonna bullshit y'all. I was dragging my feet, putting the house up for
Leave it to the
sale.
white girl.
You
White
know,
girl wants to
yeah,
explore and
yeah,
shit.
yeah. My mama was like, "Oh shit, this white girl taking my son away from us, and now, boy, you better not come up dead. This white girl better not kill you or nothing like that." And every mama would think that, or at least mine does. But I was hesitant because I had that mentality of
Everybody gonna think that
got
I'm
to do
crazy.
this, got to do that. Well, I mean, if they only knew. But anyhow, that's definitely a different subject. But I will share, when Tara says, press the button, it's easy and cute for our asses to sit up here and say, press the button, but the mentality was shit. I'm leaving my mom, I'm leaving my dad, I'm leaving my sister. I've already traveled around the world. I've left to LA, I've left to Minnesota. Now I'm back home and now shit, I'm moving away again. And it was that whole thought process. But then, like I said, when we had that going away party, and we saw how people really truly were and how they acted. And even still to this day, those same friends, those same family members that said, I love you, this, that, and the other, poof, ninja smoke, gone. And so live your life for how you want to live your life, and don't be afraid to say yes and just do it and find a way, as our mentor says all the time. So sorry about that, love, but go ahead. What you got?
No, that's at the end of the day is you can be right or you can be rich, and rich doesn't mean monetarily. It's rich in your joys, rich in your peace, rich in love, experience, however you choose your riches to be. But today's been an amazing conversation. We talked about how to be a digital nomad. Digital nomad, is it the new American dream? The things that we've learned from going and doing. We've been out for 2.5 years, almost 3 years coming up. Yeah, we're 2.5 years into it right now. And so, it's the best decision that we've made for ourselves. We enjoy it, and we can't wait to get to the next spot. We're slow moving digital nomads. And so what I say by that is we like to go to spots and stay for a bit. We're not there for just a couple of days. And there's all types of digital nomading that you can do. You can do, the real, fly by the seat of your pants where you're only in somewhere for a week or two, if that, or a couple of days, or you can go where you're staying for places, for months on end.
Or you can be like
And
those people
so
we saw in
we chose,
Colombia that had their backpack and just going from place to
yeah,
place, pitching
you
up a tent
can
every
be
day.
you can
You can
be a
miss me on that.
backpack nomad, and to me that's a little, look, I'm not, again, this comes back down to that mindset. I'm not at that spot yet. I'm not ready to be we're still working on getting down from 5, 6 suitcases,
If
between the
your
two
ass
of us.
do, then I'm just gonna go ahead and let you know I'm out.
Yeah, it's not, that's the other thing, is that there's all types of different ways to do it. We do it the way that makes us feel comfortable. We like to, again, we've been in Mexico for nearly 2 years now. It's been great. We're getting ready to, head on over to Thailand. We'll be over there for a couple of years because Thailand has the ability to do so. And so, it's just, that's what we enjoy doing, is taking kind of the casual scenic route, as they say, and not getting in a big hurry. And so it's just enjoying your time however you want to enjoy your time. So we greatly appreciate everybody that's here today. We have a lot of people watching us on X Spaces, a lot on Twitch and on YouTube, and we can't thank you guys more than enough to be here and listening to us. If you want to catch our other episodes, which, we talk about everything. It's not just about business. It's about life. It's about, us being in a relationship, an interracial relationship, us being, owning a business together and having a relationship, and how that lines up. We've talked about so many things. I think we're over nearly 60 episodes in on our Getting Naked podcast. So go check us out. You can check us out on any channel that you like to watch podcasts on, under Getting Naked podcast, and you will see my purple hair and David's bald head, and it's us. And I'll just tell you, when you do put the Getting Naked, put an apostrophe behind the naked. That's how we have it spelled to make us a little stand out a little bit different. So that's how you'll find us, is Getting Naked with an apostrophe. So there you go. All that jazz in a bundle. So we appreciate everybody being here. Next week, we will be back with How To Tuesday. So catch us on that if you're running a business or you're, social media and doing things in that realm and need help with marketing, systems, processes. Come join us. We're live at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So come check us out then.
Eastern.
On Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern time, not Central, my bad. I'm still stuck in the Central way of being. And then Wednesday is our Wisdom Wednesday. And so that's where we break down a whole lot of things. Past couple of days, we've been talking, or past couple of weeks, I should say, we've been talking about cryptocurrency and fintech and how that will, play out in our future and how that's coming more relevant as we move down this pipeline of, days here. And so we've been talking about Web3 things. We've been talking about, last week we talked about communication styles between men and women. We've talked about astrology, astronomy. We talk about it all. So there's nothing that is no holds bar on Wisdom Wednesday. And then Pivot Thursday, if you want to be a guest on our Pivot Thursday, you can jump on in and send us an email or check out thehellollc.io and sign up for that and send us your information, and we can line up and see if it'll be a good fit for us and for you. And at the end of the day, we always have our Getting Naked podcast that we come to you a couple times a month and just have a real, raw, authentic conversation. So as we get ready to wrap this up, love, any final words?
Love.
Kindness.
Integrity.
But most importantly,
commitment
and consistency.
And until next time, toodles.
Toodles. So good to be with you guys. Have a great weekend.